Let me tell you all about a story. And before we get into it, I want you all to know that I am an internet expert. You can tell that I'm an internet expert because, one, I'm on the internet and I'm talking. I wasn't supposed to be laughing at my own jokes. I forgot. I'll try to remember that. And I appreciate my gracious audience who hasn't ever pointed out how annoying it is when a person does laugh at their own jokes. My wife, who watches these videos, sometimes points out how annoying it is. So I probably should have listened to her 2-3 years ago when I started vlogging in such a fashion. But today's subject is going to be about the Blackhawks over Miami. There are a lot of videos going up from the, I don't know, for lack of a better term, the truther community involving the reasons, of course, nefarious reasons for military joint training exercises to be conducted in Miami with law enforcement and everything else. A couple of people that I consider my friends out here have made some extensive videos researching just the case of Irish, figuring out what weapon was discharged with the blanks over downtown Miami. And yeah, I thought I'd take a moment and address this because if you search out this particular subject, you're going to come across some threads that I'm not going to say are alarming, but I'm going to say that they're a bit disappointing. This whole people having an opinion about how the government is always up to no good, and anybody who disagrees with that point of view is somehow sheep, and people who don't see things the way that they do are somehow sheep, and people who just don't toe the line the way that people in this truth and survivalist community do are merely sheep, and they'll just follow the little thing, and in your mind you like picture them being put on the cattle cart and taken off. Now, personally, and I don't care if he sees this, and I hope that he does, personally I think that people like Alex Jones propagate this sort of attitude and this disdain for your fellow man, this fellow countryman. I don't think it's good, and I don't think it's healthy. And I think that when you begin to call other people sheep, maybe you need to consider looking in the mirror, because there's a lot of projections. And the idea of being some sort of a sheep, I hope you get what I'm saying. I have the utmost respect for Lieutenant Colonel Grossman, especially his work and his research. However, with the stuff that I read about these so-called sheep, he makes me want to invent a time machine and smack the pen out of his hand before he writes the book on killing. It's just ridiculous. And I think it's inappropriate, and it is misplaced pride and an inflated sense of self that allows you to judge yourself better than your fellow man. I have seen plenty of cases, directly, where a person who fancied themselves prepared for any situation found themselves in need of a person who was less prepared that just happened to be in the right place at the right time and had the will to be concerned for their fellow human being. I have seen many more cases where out of the blue something terrible happens, and before you know it, there are 3 or 4 people just right on that situation helping out. In this particular case, this handicapped person was going past a bank and riding their little scooter down the sidewalk. Well, it was a 3-wheeled scooter. The man only had one leg, and the scooter toppled, and the man fell into the road. Okay? Within seconds, cars stopped. People pulled over. People got out of their cars on the road to pull this man off of the street. Out of the blue. Out of the freaking blue. Just like that. Those are your sheep. Anybody who writes something like that down can just... It's nerve-wracking. It is nerve-wracking. Now, with regards to the Blackhawks over Miami and the military operations that are conducted over civilian towns and things like that, it took me all of 2 minutes of researching to determine first that this is not the first time these operations have been conducted in Miami. Last May 2012, there were similar operations conducted with very similar reasons for doing so. And so it's not unusual to have United States military personnel conducting operations and using civilians, which is a poor term, but I mean in this case it's true, civilians responding realistically to certain scenarios. Now, in the case of Miami, when I look at that footage, what are you seeing? I'm watching like 2 minutes total of a couple of Blackhawks flying really, really low through a town, and then I hear just a minimal amount of chatter from some blanks being fired off. These same, for those of you who may not know, I'm in Florida, and I was on the phone with a friend when one of these damn Blackhawks, well, it was a Blackhawk, but it was flying extremely low, came over my house. Now, I'm not near Miami, but though I am on the flight line of the Special Operations Blackhawk, so I get to see these helicopters quite a bit. And when I see these helicopters in the air, I'm not thinking, oh gosh, here come the UN troops in the blue hats. You know, I just don't think that. That's not the way my brain operates, okay? I see blue hats when I see fucking blue hats, all right? I don't let my mind go wild with what could or could not happen. Now, in my 2 minutes of research of this whole Blackhawk situation, I found out, one, the reason why they don't give a great deal of advance notice is because they do not want to draw a large crowd to the area. You know, if people know that some whiz-bang high-speed shit's going to go on, they're going to be drawing a crowd. It'd be like having to cordon off a movie set, and they want to avoid that. Furthermore, proper authorization and proper notice, it turns out, was given. And in addition to that, this was a training exercise, so people could get certain qualifications and try out new gear. That's the explanation given. But oddly, in these threads, no, that explanation is insufficient. Of course they would say that. Well, why do you even fucking ask if you're just going to make up shit? Okay? I'll be the first to say that something does stink in Denmark, and I don't dig the direction that some people attempt to take this country. Okay? But I will say, too, that armed services personnel, by and large, do care about and do love the country of America, and they love their fellow man. So much so that many of them have signed on a dotted line saying they will give their lives in defense of those people. All right? Those aren't going to be the people that come to take your guns or to throw you on the cattle cars, okay? It's not going to be what happens. Tyranny will reveal itself in the form of actually a civilian person that somehow has the whole town on lockdown, you know, owns everything, owns all the property, has all the guns, has personal security. The evil landlord that somehow gets everybody working for them. Tyranny will most likely reveal itself in the form of bad cops. A county police department that has law enforcement so locked down that people are just terrified to go out. That's how the tyranny reveals itself. Not this stuff where these Joes are just trying to freaking get their stuff squared away. That's my point, man. And you know what? Some of these thumbnails and probably the title the title for this video also included these shocking thumbnail titles for these videos like, oh, martial law in Miami, blah, blah, blah. It's provocative, and somebody who doesn't even watch the video, they see the thumbnail, they see the picture, they see the heading, and that's all they get. They don't watch the whole thing. They don't research the shit for themselves, and they just go along, and they get their little fear going. And then they go to these websites, okay, and these other websites that link to advertising, and the advertising owner gets paid. And you go there because you're scared, and the person cashes in on it. It's just fear-mongering, and don't be a part of it, people. That's all I'm going to say, and don't be fooled by it. Because what's going to happen is one day these asshole fear-mongers are going to be right, and everybody's going to be so worn out and haggard that it'll turn out to nothing. You're going to be like a cuckolded husband. It's ridiculous. Cut the crap! All right. See y'all later.